Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
Survive, thrive, stay alive. It's time to get prepared with the Prepping Academy podcast.
All right. We're here. Welcome to the Prepping Academy. I am Forrest. Tenderfoot is not here tonight, but that's okay. Tenderfoot got I think a gift given to him, which required him to travel. So once again, he is missing tonight's show, but that's okay. I have a little bit of experience in handling shows myself. Not saying it helps me any, but I do. Hey, you can find us at preppingacademy.com. preppingacademy.com. Go over there, sign up for our mailing list. We have the winners for the Sawyer water filters that we are giving away. And I just thought of that as I'm looking at my notes. I don't have the list, but dang it, I could have read. Well, it's kind of unusual anyway because I'm reading mostly part of their name or part of their email address. Because some of you guys just absolutely have the craziest email addresses and names ever. I'm okay with that. I understand it. But we just gave 10 Sawyer water filters away, and I will hopefully announce them. The winners have already been notified. I just have not. I don't have the list in front of me. I apologize. So, anyway, tonight's show is going to be awesome. You guys know I've been interviewing a few authors lately, and tonight we're one of the biggest. Angery American. He goes by Chris Weatherman. He was on the History Channel show Alone. He's written many books, so he's coming on to the show in just a few minutes. But some announcements before we get there. One is we're getting ready to give a new giveaway. I am literally in the process of firming that up, and it's going to be. I'm hoping it's going to be a Sun oven stove or cooker, and that I just need to make a phone call and make sure that we are on go for that. Hey, one of our sponsors I've been telling everyone about is Sawyer Water Filters is definitely one of our sponsors. They've been really good to the Prepping Academy, and I'll just tell you, they're better than Life Straw. Just plain and simple. Just imagine you're going to cook a meal for the family. You need some fresh water. You have a Life Straw. You suck the water up, and you spit it out in a cup, and you boil it. Or you can get a Life Straw, $20, just like the Life. You can get a mini. Has a way to purify the water into a bag, so you don't have to suck it through a straw. But it also connects to a water bottle. It's just very versatile. It is a great little device, and Sawyer's been a good friend from the Prepping Academy for years. Also, our friend John Haynes at Retreat Realty. He is in the mountains of North Carolina. If you're looking for real estate, he's been doing real estate for 30 years. He understands what preppers are looking for. He's also good friends with William Fortune, the writes the book series, 1 Second After, all that. He's actually neighbors Good guy to get to know. He lives in Black Mountain, North Carolina. If you have real estate needs in the mountains of North Carolina, give him a call. His website is retreatrealty.com. Retreatrealty.com. Or actually, it's retreatrealty.net. Sorry, retreatrealty.net. His name's John. He's also a prepper. He does a blog about once a week on prepping, so look him up. You need property in the mountains. He's been a good friend for 2 years now for the Prepping Academy. So tonight, one thing that, we started doing was the conflicted cards. And the reason the Prepping Academy has partnered with the conflicted card deck is because we are doing a card deck. Deck number 11 will be 3 organizations really together, putting together the conflicted card deck. So the conflicted has 10 decks. And I've been, I won't say under contract, but I've been asked to do a deck myself. This will be a combination of the Prepping Academy radio show and a new site that we're going to release here in the near future called PrepperNet. We're going to take what we've done in the Carolinas, where we have 8,000 members, and we're going to expand that throughout the United States. We should be releasing that within the next 60 days. But Conflicted has contacted me. We're doing a deck. I'm going to do it a little different than some of these other decks. Mine is going to be of like a deck of all-stars. So I'm going to people within the industry, and they're giving me a question. We're going to put it together, put it in a card deck, and like Rick and Jane, Austin, Scott Hunt, just a bunch of different people are going to have these, a card in the deck. It will represent, have their name that they provided the question, and that they have a link to their website. So that's something in the plans. And but tonight again we're gonna have Angry American, which I am really looking forward to. It looks like he's on the line. We'll get to him in like less than 20 seconds. But I do want to have you guys go to preppingacademy.com, sign up for our mailing list. I don't abuse it. You're automatically entered into our giveaways, and went through the sponsors. Oh, and again, Tenderfoot is not here this evening. I think he got tickets somewhere to a big park in Florida. That's all I'll say. So without waiting any longer, we have the one and only Chris Weatherman, Angry American. Are you on the line with us?
I am here, my friend.
Awesome. I appreciate you coming on. And it's Tenderfoot is not here, so it's just me, but that is fine. So let me, gosh, there's so much to talk about with you. We just spent some time together at Heritage Life Skills, a month ago, and that was the most amazing present of authors, including the guy that reads your books, right?
And a lot of the guys that read the books.
I mean, I'm talking about the actual Audible.
Oh, no. Kevin Pierce doesn't narrate mine.
He does not narrate yours? Oh, I thought.
No.
Okay.
He does everybody else's. He doesn't do mine. The guy named Duke Fontaine reads mine. Duke.
Okay. That's right. I remember. But there's a lot of people there. It was awesome for your fans, for people wanting to learn some skills hands-on. And it was so cool. People were coming up to you. They're meeting you, getting you to sign the books, and they get to meet your daughter, which is famous in her own right.
A little bit. She has fun going to those. She gets a kick out of actually signing books for people. She thinks that's really neat.
A little bit was running around just like a preteen or a teenager would, just having fun and people were stopping her and asking her questions. But you go by Angry American, and you kind of misspell that a little bit. I think that's on purpose, maybe. I'm not
it's
not
not
sure.
misspelled. There's an actual definition for that spelling.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Hang on, let me pull it up and I'll read it verbatim for you.
Oh, okay.
I don't like to get it wrong. It's not that complicated.
Okay.
But, all right. Oh crap! I got that. All right. All right. So when you type this in, now this comes from the Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
So it's a sarcastic or condescending or taunting use of the word angry, used on someone who is angry over something trivial or insignificant, typically used in jest and some sort of explosive statement. So the reason for it was when I came up with a username for a survival forum many years ago.
Okay.
At the time, the government was even less concerned about our issues and our concerns and what we thought of things, and that's why I went with that. So that's where it comes
Very
from.
interesting. So there's actually a hidden meaning behind it. That's awesome. Well, you've written 1,000 books. It seems like a ton of books. You were on the show Alone. You speak at expos and do events all year long. But my question, I got some good questions for you. At least I think there are. What inspired you to become a writer? Were you a prepper first, and then decided to write about you?
Prepping for a long time, and I was just reading stories on the forum that where I wrote Going Home and Surviving Home. But I was just reading stories on there. They had a fiction section, and anybody could write in it. And I was reading stories one night, and I was like, these are all kind of cool, but they're like missing something for me personally. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what the hell, I'll write one. I literally gave it that much thought. And figured I'd do it on EMP because it'd be as bad as it could possibly get. You know, about the only thing that was out at that time that was like popular was 1 Second After and Patriots.
Oh yes, great book.
There were a couple other books out there, but I mean those were like the big ones. And so when I started writing Going Home online, I mean it took off. It just developed a life of its own. If I didn't post every day, I would get a zillion messages from people just browbeating me for not putting anything up. And that's how it got started. I mean, just on a forum.
So you wrote this book online, in a forum?
Totally online, yeah. When it was done, it had about 2 million views over the course of me writing it. Yeah.
And that was the first book, the Going Home series?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have a fetish with home. I've noticed that in all your
books. Well, it's the thing. I mean, think about it. What are we all looking to protect? What's home. The biggest investment anybody makes generally?
Yeah.
And for all the talk of bugging out and heading for the hills and all that stuff, home is what everybody wants to preserve.
Right.
That's where your family comes around at. It's everything. I can survive much better at home than I can in the damn woods.
Right.
Even without power and running water, I can still. No primitive shelter that I'm going to construct out in the woods can compare to my house.
Right.
So, it's all about home. That's the reason that's in every title, because it's just too many people get caught up in their bug out bag, and I'm just going to head for the hills. Well, yeah, you and everybody else. The woods are going to look like an REI yard sale. Like the Oregon Trail, all the stuff being cast off. You're much better off to try to defend home, unless you're in just a horrible tactical situation as far as defensibility, like an apartment building or a high rise or something like that. Then you're going to have to get the hell out. But if you've got a conventional home, stick to it.
I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I have within 1 mile radius of my house 1,400 homes.
Wow.
So I will be one of those bugging out. But you make it an interesting point. All these people heading to the hills. I'm from the mountains of North Carolina. They're not going to let these city folks bug out up there. They're going to.
No.
You got to know the people. You got to. So I'm from up there. So hopefully they'll welcome me. They better. And but yeah, everyone
you
has
better
a plan.
start working on those relationships now.
Yep, that is so true. That is so true. So you've been a prepper all your life now. Would you say that were you kind of raised this kind of lifestyle, or did you just see events and start to, over time became a prepper?
No, I wasn't raised this way. I mean, we hunted and fished for food, out of necessity a lot of time growing up. We lived next door to my grandmother for many, many years where there was a big garden that I helped with, and so kind of raised in it, but there wasn't a whole lot of money. I mean, we didn't go without, but there was no extra money for stuff when I was growing up.
Right. Okay.
I got into it on my own later. When I was about 17, 18-ish, I kind of got into the bushcraft stuff a little bit. And then, back when Bo Gritz was running around doing his thing, I caught into that a little bit and started reading American Survival Guide magazine and stuff like that, and just kind of went from there, And so I'd been prepping for a long time before I ever wrote the book. I mean, decades,
And you can tell in people's writing styles, not to, there's some prepper authors that are really not, one, even a prepper, and two, they just became a prepper in the last year or two, and they started writing in this genre, and you can definitely tell in reading the books. At least I think I can. So you can tell when you. It seems to me, in reading some of your things, you're more of, I would classify you as a survivalist, probably more than a prepper.
And that's the title that I claim myself, actually.
Okay. And there's a difference. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us how you see the difference on that, if you don't mind.
Well, a prepper, your whole plan of action is to store enough supplies to get through the duration of any emergency that may come your way. And this isn't to be derogatory for either side, and that, because just think of the root of the word prepping. You're preparing. It means you're acquiring. You're in some cases, acquiring knowledge, and in most cases, you're acquiring a lot of material items, food, medicines, water storage systems, firearms, ammunition, and all this stuff. To me, the survivalist, they base a lot more of their efforts on knowledge, like learning to garden now instead of just storing a seed vault so that you can garden later, is an example, And a lot of homesteaders already do this kind of thing, and I kind of lump them in with survivalists, even if they don't want to claim it, because if you cannot sustain yourself long-term, renewably, then your survival is limited. By that I mean I don't care how much food you have stored. I don't care if you have 10 years, and let's just say, as an example, an EMP happened. Well, then you've got 10 years to figure things out. That's a good run. But if you never become self-sufficient, as in you're able to produce your own food and everything else you need, then you're going to make it 10 years, and that's going to be it.
Right.
So,
yep. I tell people all the time that preppers will end up dying if they cannot, start growing their own food or being self-sufficient. And it's kind of weird how homesteaders are not really preppers in general, and preppers tend to just put back things. We kind of need a little combination of the two.
Yes, you do, and I do both. I store freeze-dried food. I make my own freeze-dried food. I store toilet paper, hygiene products, toothpaste. I store all kinds of stuff, fuel, motor oil. Filters for my vehicles, oil filters. I store things, lots of stuff.
Right.
So I'm prepping in that manner as well. But I also know primitive skills. I can go out and survive in the woods. But
we've seen it.
Well, that wasn't a good example. Only because I was only there, on the third day when they came and got me, because the wolves showed up, and a lot of people give me flack for that. But everybody's got their own thing. There's people from up north that would come down to Florida and wouldn't swim in any of the lakes because there's alligators in every one of them.
Yep.
They don't bother me, you know.
Yep.
Wolves, though, dogs in general, you know, especially larger canines, I have a tendency to get bit by them, and so I'm very leery of them. And when I was there unarmed, that was enough for me. I was ready to, yeah, and I did tap. Like I'm, you know, but it took them 14 hours to come pick me up, so I should have just stayed.
Oh yeah. Well, what are some of your favorite books? I mean, besides your own. I know because I know authors read other people's books, and not saying you get ideas from them, but there's just price. I mean, I know it will be funny if you don't say Franklin Horton. By the way, I would love it.
No, I love Franklin and Steve. You know, there's a lot of folks out there that I read too. My all-time, hands-down favorite survival-style novel is Last Babylon. That's my my ultimate favorite novel. I love that book.
Yep, that's a good book. But
I also read things like the Foxfire series. You know, I have stacks of books, like right here beside my desk right now, that I'm reading through. SAS Survival Manual, Prepper's Long-Term Survival, the Survival Group Handbook by Charlie Hogwood. You know, How to Survive Anywhere. You know, I mean, you know, Wilderness Living and Survival Skills, which is an awesome book. Hard to find that one, but if anybody can find it, that's a good one. That's a really good one. So, you know, I read all kinds of stuff. I don't get to read as much fiction anymore today because I'm generally reading research stuff or just reading for my own knowledge because you know, we're all perpetual students, so I'm still learning.
Right. Yep. And so you started the Going Home series online, which is kind of, wow, you know, I think there was a series also called Lights Out that was started in a forum base as well.
Yep, Lights Out. You know, he's a great author, good guy. I've met him and talked to him. I love the story. I've read it. You know, I follow it, and it was fantastic. Which I want to go back to something you said earlier, real quick, about people writing in the genre not being preppers, and that's something that bothers me personally, because I feel it's very disingenuous to be like casting out information to people when you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and that's something that irks me considerably. You know,
it does with me as well. That's why, you know, not sure if I know you're probably familiar, but I run the Carolina Preppers Network, and I like to I do a lot of show and tell with the stuff that I've created. Like last month we did a kind of a small EDC or small I'll say bag, and so I actually brought my trauma bag. I had like 13 different kits, and people were looking at me like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, guys, you know, I have to show you guys that I'm real, and I've been doing this for a while, so you can trust me when I tell you, you know, to buy this or don't buy this or don't do this. And, you know, I think I definitely have that trust at this point, but I showed them all my bags, and they were just, they said that was one of the best because they actually saw a part of, you know, some of these, and you understand this, a bug out bag or your EDC, it takes years. I mean, it never is complete. You always change it.
No, it's ever evolving. You know, the bag I had when I wrote Going Home is different than the one I have now. You know, so yeah, it's ever evolving, and the more you get the stuff out that you've acquired and put it to use in real world environment, the faster your bag will change as well. So that's a problem a lot of folks have. They stock up a kit and throw it in the corner and say, I'm good. You know, grab that thing. Go spend a night out in the woods. You know, go spend a rainy night out in the woods. I mean, you know, put it to the test.
And, you know, you mentioned the Firefox series. I think the author made this statement. I think it's where it came from. It says, he said that the more you, the less you have, I mean, it's proportionate to what you carry on the back to what you have in your head, meaning the more you have in your brains, the more skills you have, the actual less you have to carry in your backpack.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Absolutely. I would
Tell me why.
I would rephrase that like this.
Okay.
what you carry on your back equipment-wise is directly proportionate to the knowledge in your head. It will change what you have to carry. And you may not have to carry, let's just find an example. Let's just say you don't carry a water filter because you know how to build one, okay?
Right,
right. So you don't carry a water filter, but now you can add a different piece of kit.
Right.
So it will change what you carry. You're probably going to carry the same amount. Hell, you might even carry more because, again, we held a class down here in Florida, and we brought some folks in, and we put them through a friction fire course. And the only thing we did was bow drill. We demonstrated some other stuff, but we had them do bow drill.
Okay.
We had one guy get fire. Okay. Others got smoke and stuff, but one guy actually got fire. He did a great job. Mike, he was awesome. But at the end of it, Alan Kay was there instructing, and he asked them, he's like, so, does friction fire suck? And they're all like, yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, you passed. He's like, he goes, I like to call friction fire classes Bic Lighter Appreciation Day.
Right.
Because, again, once you know what it takes to do some of these things, it's going to change what you carry. Like, I can do friction fire, but I carry about 8 ways in my bag to make fire.
Yep.
Where I ain't got to rub sticks together.
Yep.
I consider the primitive skills like lifeboat skills. If I'm doing those, if I'm using those skills, then everything else has gone wrong. But if you start at friction fire, you have nowhere to go but failure or success.
Right.
You got a 50-50 chance, I like to up the odds.
I agree. And, also, I guess, with knowledge, you change the things in your backpack as well, because I remember when I first became a prepper in like 2000, I bought this Catadyne water filter that cost me, I think it was like $340. And now I've since gotten rid of that, and I carry one that costs $20, Sawyer water filter. I mean, it's just because I didn't know, I didn't have the knowledge back then, so now it's getting lighter in my backpack and better tools for sure. But nothing.
Well, I carry a Sawyer in my bag too, but that's my backup filter to my Catadyne that I carry.
Oh, you carry a Catadyne? Okay.
Absolutely. I'm not a fan of relying solely on the Sawyers. I have a Sawyer Mini in my PSK, and it fits in my tin, but I want the ability. I also have the Platypus gravity filter as well.
Yeah, I got one of them.
That thing's awesome, but I like to have a filter that I can pull from dirty water and put into clean containers, because if you use the Sawyer, you're either sucking it directly from the water, which then you can't carry water, or you're trying to fill one of those little small neck bottles that thing will screw onto, and that limits how much you can carry. So I have the Sawyer, but I also carry a pump because I carry bladders in my pack as well, so I can quickly filter up to like 6 liters of water, throw it in my ruck, and take off if I need to. If I need to get away from the water source, or if the next water source is so far away that I may need that much water.
Well, that comes up to one of the questions I've been asking people is, what's the most important thing in your bug-out bag, you think? If you had to grab one thing and you're walking and you knew you were going in a survival mode, what would it be?
Well, the 2 hardest things to replicate in nature are, a knife, and yes, you can nip or flint nap and do all that stuff, but like where I live, you cannot because that material doesn't exist here. So that would probably be first, but I would have to really consider where I was and what was going on, because the absolute hardest thing to replicate in nature is a metal container. So my titanium cup would be neck and neck with my knife, and having to pick which one of those I would take if I can only take one thing.
Well, on the Alone show that you were on, that was on the History Channel for everybody, but you got to pick 10 items. Do you think you made a mistake in the 10 items you picked?
Well, yeah. Looking back now, I would have done 2 things differently. I wouldn't have taken the bow because there was no game there to shoot at. Although I didn't take game arrows, I took fishing arrows. My intent was to try to shoot ducks on the water because there was a lot of those.
Okay.
And that may have worked out for me, because all the other people there, they always had seabirds around them, just out of reach where they couldn't get to them. But with that bow and the fishing arrows I had, I very easily could have taken them. The other thing was I took a work sharp knife sharpener, and a lot of people laughed at me for that. Well, I come from Florida. You can't pick a rock up on the ground in Florida and sharpen a knife. We don't have rocks. And not knowing the environment exactly where I was going to, I took that because a sharp blade to me is extremely important. So down here I carry one, so it only made sense to me to take one up there. I would have not taken that, and I would have taken a gill net for sure, because the gill net makes a big difference.
Yep. So when I was walking by your booth at Heritage Life Skills, I actually heard, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun here, but a project that possibly you and a friend of yours are getting ready to jump into?
You talking about the TV show?
Yeah. Well, you and Alan Kay were going to do something together.
Yeah. Me and Alan Kay we have a working outline on an actual survival manual that we're working on right now.
Okay.
We're trying to work out some dates for me to go up there where he's at in his area, so we can do all the edible plant stuff right now because everything's kind of in season at the moment. Go up there and take all the photos and work on that part of the book, and as well as some other parts too. But yeah, we're trying to get a survival manual put together that would a little different than your typical bushcraft manual. This is going to include a lot of stuff. I mean, like one of the chapters is going to be better survival through chemistry. So it's going to take into account that you can't go many places on this planet without coming across something man has left behind, and so we're going to include all of that to a degree.
Oh yeah. Mhm. Right. Oh, like on the Alone Show, they used things that were floating up. And they utilized it. I get this little, it's a gimmick, I guess, but you can take a bottle and you can cut it for cordage real easy. I learned how to do that with a knife, and and I've done it with like made my own, but then I found one I could actually buy. And so but it's using a plastic bottle for cordage, which is amazing. I mean, 'cause they're everywhere. I don't care where you go.
Yeah,
and
now I was
them.
planning on doing that up there as well to get extra cordage because I didn't take cordage with me. I knew there'd be bottles, and there were water bottles on my beach. So.
Oh, okay. This project with Alan, you mentioned a TV show. What? I mean, is that something you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, well,
or
it's something I'm working on. It's a very slow-moving process, as these kind of things are, but it's definitely something that it's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind about it. It's just getting all the right people lined up and money and all the other things it takes to make it happen, which I'm thinking I may have the money now secured, so that's not an issue, but got to get the script done right, which I'm still working on that because I paid somebody to write a script for me, and he didn't do what I wanted, so I'm having to go through and rewrite it.
What kind of show is it going to be? Is it?
It's going to be a series. It's not going to be a movie. It's going to be a series based on the books. So it's going to start, linearly and follow the story from start to end. So with having 9 books out now and number 10 sitting on my screen right here in front of me at the moment, I've got plenty of material to work with.
Right. Yep. I remember the only series I think I've ever followed is probably the Jericho series. And I loved that. Was a great series, and this is Jericho on steroids right here. So. Oh, sweet. So are you in the process of the Going Home series? Has got 9 books out now.
9 out now, and like I said, I'm working on number 10 here at the moment. So.
Number 10. And so, how do you pick your characters?
Hey, let's take a quick break.
Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
Well, they just show up, and whatever the circumstance may be,
Do you base them on people you meet?
Yeah, I incorporate a lot. You know, I worked industrial construction for almost 20 years, and then I worked in jails and prisons for a long time after that. And I met a lot of really interesting characters, so I use that pool of experience to draw from. But as far as like naming the characters, I always ask the readers who wants their name in the book, and then I've got 300 or 400 names to pick from.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Now, is Chin one of your characters? Do you know who I'm talking about when I say Chin? Goes to
Yeah, I know
Prepper
who you're
Camp?
talking about. No, she's not. One of my characters is one of my. She loves the books and has been following them for a very long time, and so I put her and her husband in the books because they're just great people, good friends, and. But you never know. You never know when they're going to show up or how they show up.
And it was so cool because at Heritage we had there had to be at least 10 different authors there, and you have this kind of club within the authors called DD12.
Yep. The Dirty Dozen Post-Apocalyptic Authors. That was something Lisa Akers put together and asked me if I'd join it, and I said, what the hell? Yeah, I'll play along, and it's really taken on a life of its own over there as well. That thing's just exploded.
Yeah, I mean, and so you have 12 different authors, and you kind of promote each other's books because, I mean.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And y'all hang out together. I know you and Franklin and Alan. I mean, you see one of you guys, you see all three of you.
Yeah, like Steve Bird, he's going to be down there in Florida on business in the next day or so, and I want to go over to Clearwater and get him, and we're going to go fish off the pier in Tampa all night and drink beer together. So.
Yeah, Steve was actually on our show last week.
Yeah.
And I think Franklin Horton was on there a couple weeks ago, and so it's really cool because not only can your fans go to these shows and meet you guys, talk to you guys, talk about the characters, but you also are very, with the DD12 and social media, nowadays people can get in touch with you and ask you questions or suggestions right online. Does that make you?
Absolutely.
Does that help you or just bother you when people are like, hey, put me in the book or you should do this or how do you take
I don't mind it at all. I mean,
okay.
Every message that I receive, I reply to. I don't care how they contact me. I don't care if it's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, email, how a message comes to me, I will reply to it because I like to tell folks that if they're supporting someone, be it an author, an artist, some kind of singer, actor, anything like that, and that individual can't take a couple minutes of their time to interact with you, they don't deserve your support. Now, I get it if you're Stephen King and you've got 10 million people want to talk to you. I understand that can be difficult. But you can still make an effort, and get out there and connect. That's why I travel and go places, and whenever I travel, I tell people where I'm going to be. I mean, I'll go out of my way to meet somebody. If I'm, like I was in Oklahoma, and there was a law enforcement officer there that he's like, man, the only time I have free is lunch. I'm like, where do you want to meet? And I drove an hour and a half to go meet this guy to have lunch.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's just, if it's not for the people that are buying the books and reading them, I'm not getting to write them.
Right.
Other than for my own enjoyment, which I have a lot of fun doing it. But it's the readers that make it possible. So I'm make myself as available as I possibly can.
So you were on season 2 of Alone, is that correct?
No, season 1. I was on the first.
Season 1. Okay, season 1. So did that help you with your book sales and?
No.
No. Oh, it
not
did
at all.
not. That's too bad. Okay.
No, because they wouldn't use my real. They wouldn't. They used my real name, and not a lot of people at that time knew my real name.
Right.
And they only referred to me as an author and never made any mention of anything that I did. They did it on purpose not to help me in that manner. We had some disagreements when it came to contracts for me to be on the show, and it got a little heated, and that was their way of getting even with me.
Would you do the show again?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're not going to ask me to, but I would. I'd do it again.
They're not going to ask me.
No, they're not going to. Well, I shouldn't say that. They actually asked me for season 5, the one that's fixing to start here in the next day or two.
Right.
And, and I said, yeah, put me on the list, but they didn't call me back. So, but yeah, I'd love to go do it again, actually.
So I'm taking it Alan and no one we know is going to be on the show. I think that I saw a commercial, and that one lady that I really liked.
Everybody in season 5 is from previous seasons. So.
Oh, really?
You'll be seeing familiar faces, yeah.
Yep, because that one lady kept calling the Bears. I loved her. She was awesome.
Nicole Pellion, Nicole's awesome. Yeah.
Yep. So that starts in like 2 weeks. So, okay, sweet. So what plans do you have in the future? I mean, I know you're working on TV. You and Alan are doing...
working on a TV show, working on a book with Alan. I'm writing number 10. I'm writing a spinoff that's set in Wyoming as well. For readers that remember, Morgan talks to a rancher in Wyoming via ham radio one night, and I'm going to tell that guy's story. Just a different part of the country, different characters, and the people out there, none of them are preppers. They're ranchers. They're just ranchers, and it's how they deal with things. So it's going to be pretty interesting. So
okay. And I know you go around to different shows and events throughout the year. What do you have coming up soon?
Nothing at the moment, actually. I don't have anything scheduled right now. I'm
You're
trying
to
get
camp, aren't you?
No.
You're not going to do prepper camp?
No.
Nope. Okay.
Will not make it this year.
Okay. Good. Well, we always liked it when you showed up there. Stephen Horton is not. I mean, Franklin Horton's not going to be there, but I think Stephen Bird's going to make it. He said. So that's a big one for the Carolinas here. So.
Oh, it is. It is. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not going to be able to make it up there.
Okay. Well, so your writing style, did it evolve, or did it just flowed naturally from you? I mean, because Heritage Life Skills, all the authors talked about how they wrote books, and if you're telling me you wrote yours on a form and it just kind of came out, that's totally different than some of the other that would plan it out, do an outline, then build it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't write in that manner. I don't consider myself a writer, actually. I consider myself a storyteller, and I just write the story down. So, I don't outline nothing. I don't do anything like that. I just follow the characters around in my head and write down what they're doing. I mean, literally, that's what I do. And I have, every now and then I'll have some major plot point that I want to get to, and I never know how I'm going to get there or when it's going to get there or anything like that. And then I just kind of wait and follow them along with what they're doing in their daily ordeal there until we arrive at that point.
So there's been mention by previously stated authors about you guys coming together and doing some kind of series or book together. Is that ever going to happen?
I couldn't tell you. I'm a member of the DD12, but I'm fairly busy, so I don't get over there very often.
Right.
I try to pop into it once a day and at least look around and see what's going on. But I've got my social media stuff. I'm building a new website at the moment. I also work for another website called Survival Dispatch, which is a fantastic resource for people in prepping, and I write for them as well. So I'm busy, very busy.
So is this your full-time gig?
Oh yeah. I quit
it is
my day job like 4 years ago.
Wow, that's impressive right there.
Yeah.
You might be the only person I've talked to that this is a full-time gig in writing so far.
Well, the fact that Penguin Books picked up the first two. Well, initially we did a 4-book contract, I think it was. So Penguin Books called up and made me an offer. And I turned them down, actually, which just boggled their mind. And they called back 2 weeks later with a different offer, and I said yes to that one. and I did 4 books with him, and then I did a separate contract for a 5th book, and we were negotiating another contract for 3 more books when negotiations deteriorated, as they say, and I left them and just went to self-publishing. But having that launch through Penguin, as far as being on the bookshelf, being at the airport, in Walmart, Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and all the other books retailers out there really, really, really helped. So, and plus, I had a pretty substantial following when I published initially as well. Writing on a forum, like I said, it had 2 million views. So there was a lot of people that knew about that story.
Right.
So as soon as I published it, it took off. It really took off. And that's why Penguin noticed it. I qualified for the New York Times.
Wow.
New York Times would not list me, but USA Today did twice. So they were really moving. The books were. So it was a blessing. It was something I did on accident. And the funny thing is too is I wrote it online, and when I finished it, everybody was like, "You need to publish this." I'm like, "I'm not going to publish this. I'm a writer. Nobody's going to pay money for this garbage." But they were very, very, very persistent. So persistent, in fact, that one of my friends posted my PayPal account, and people started sending money to me, and then I felt obligated to do it.
Ah.
And that's the only reason it got published, because I didn't take it serious. I didn't think anything was going to happen with it. And boy, was I wrong.
So you've been writing for years, several years.
Like 6 years, yeah.
Yeah. So have you noticed when a event happens in America or something happens that your sales go up? Does it work? Does it correlate like that?
No, I don't see that. Now that I don't have a traditional publisher, the sales aren't as strong as they used to be, because you can't just walk into Barnes & Noble and buy it, or pick it up if you're, at the airport. So my sales, the bulk of them happen within like the first 90 days of a release.
Right.
There'll be 10 or 15,000 copies bought, and then it starts to taper down. But it hangs in there. It's enough that, like I said, this is all I do.
So, the question: everyone seems to prepare for something as a prepper or a survivalist. What do you have an event in mind that you're like, this is what I'm really worried about?
Life.
Right.
But if I had to point, to me, my biggest concern, I'll give you the top 3. The number 1 is financial collapse. There's a lot of things happening in the world. I've heard some things that I don't know if they're true, but if they come to fruition, then I'll be spot on the money, but I don't know yet. The second one is civil unrest. The nation is being divided and subdivided at every turn and every way it can be done, and we're no longer a united country, where everybody's at each other's throats. And then last on my scale of concern would be EMP. But that's the 3 things. And in the short-term issues, above all of those, for me personally, is hurricane season, because I live in Florida, and
right.
I know that's going to happen. That's going to happen. So I do a lot of preparation for that.
So I would bet that there's a lot of Floridians that are preppers, and they don't even know that they're preppers, I would think.
Well, there's a lot of them that are preppers from June to November.
Right,
then,
exactly.
And then they'll sell all that stuff. A lot of them won't even start prepping until there's a named storm with a potential track across Florida. Then they run to Home Depot and buy a generator and bring it home and leave it in the box in the garage. And if the hurricane doesn't knock their power out, they're back at Home Depot the next day returning it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not me. I've got 3 generators, and I own them. They are mine, and I use them. So
yeah,
I just bought one.
I just bought a generator. I wanted one that had tri-fuel, and it was difficult to find, but I found it. But yes, I can set my house can be flipped over to a generator, and so it's wired. So so I am kind of the everyone in the neighborhood knows that that I have this, and I told them because our neighborhood, small neighborhood, no homeowners, but we're all in well and septic tank, and if the power goes out, no one can get water. And so when I moved in, I became friends with everyone and said, listen, power goes out, we got water at my house. And everybody's like, wow, we never thought of that. So now they're thinking of things like, oh, we need to bring gas and this stuff. So I got them started thinking about preparing. And that is actually a question. Do you mind doing a quick conflicted card?
A quick what?
Question? Conflicted card from the card game. And it's kind of right. It's kind of dealing right what we're talking about.
Sure.
How do you tell others about the need to prepare without making yourself a target for unwanted visitors in the future? That's from deck number 2. I mean, how do you tell people about or convince them that they need to do that without them going, I'll be at your house?
Yeah, you always hear that from people, but I don't. And people that don't know what I do and who I am, I don't let on what I do or who I am to
you
them.
don't? Okay.
I've got to get an idea of their moral bearing before I even think about talking to them about that kind of thing. So for me, it takes a long time to develop the trust before I would even bring that up to somebody. Close friends, family, things like that. I talk with them about it all the time. But I'm not one to rush into opening the gates of what I do, without a serious get to know you period. Let's put it that way.
Right. So
because you've got to do that before something happens. You can't do it after. And you've got to remember that anyone that you talk to about that, you're potentially trusting your life to them. So it's not something that I do lightly personally. It's
right.
Got to evolve.
Yep. So you're not a per se a crusader for the prepping survival industry, except through your books.
Yeah, I am. I'll go speak at events and stuff like that to people that are already think in that direction. But no, I'm not out walking around town, trying to convince people of the need to get ready. They live in Florida. If they haven't grasped that concept by now, there's no helping them, in my opinion. So.
Well, people in Florida do have some issues when they don't prepare. It just drives me nuts when when they're not prepared and they know that it's going to happen. The odds are a storm's going to hit Florida.
Well, it cracks me up when you'll get a named storm and a fairly solid track. You know it's coming, and everybody runs out and buys everything. Then the track changes. Well, then they start using the crap that they bought, like the gas that they bought. They'll just put it in their car and run it. Well, then a week later, the track changes, and now it's definitely coming. Well, the first rush on everything wiped all the stocks out. And then they burned all that gas in their car in the ensuing week, and now they don't have any, and there's nowhere to buy any. I don't understand the short-sightedness of a lot of folks. You'll see them on the news. It's mind-boggling. They're complaining there's no bottled water. You live in a house in the United States of America, which, despite all its shortcomings, we still have the best drinking water on the planet. Get buckets and fill up bottles. Why are you buying bottled water?
Right.
What do you really need water for after a hurricane? Well, you got to stay hydrated. Of course, it's very important. But the number one thing, especially if you're on a well, you want to be able to flush the toilet.
Right.
Yep. And you need volume to pull that off. Get a water bottle. Fill your bathtub up. I don't understand people running out and buying bottled water. It's like bottled water, bread and milk, eggs. There you go. I can survive now. I got what I need. It just staggers the mind, in my opinion. I don't get it. Last hurricane, I didn't buy anything. We never even went to the store. I didn't go get nothing. I made one change after the hurricane. I had fuel in 55-gallon drums on hand, but I had since had large tanks put in and a fuel company that services them. And that was the only change I made. I actually ordered them before the hurricane, but didn't get them till after it. So.
Well, just a few weeks ago, another message went out in the city about some kind of a civil emergency, and I read the article that people went to the grocery store and they bought bread, water, and milk, and I'm like,
yep.
Oh my, it's crazy. Why? How do they have that on their mind? I don't understand it.
Well, I think they get vapor locked at the thought of what they're facing. I don't know. There's a lot of sandwiches being eaten, or there's a lot of French toast, or I don't know what the hell people eat during the disasters. But their priorities are in the wrong place, if you ask me personally. So.
Right.
Because you don't have any refrigeration, how are you going to keep that milk cold? You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. So Florida has its own issue of having the hurricane, but everyone has the opportunity to lose a job. I mean,
absolutely. I tell people all the time, it's not necessarily the end of the world you're preparing for. You could very well be preparing for the end of your world. Right.
Exactly.
If you've got enough food stored up for a year that you can live off of it, if you lose a job, that's one thing you don't have to spend money on. You can focus it to other things.
Exactly.
Which is another good reason of not going out and buying the 1 year supply of freeze-dried food on a pallet, because you'll figure out pretty damn quick how lousy that is. Eat what you store and store what you eat normally, day to day. Figure out ways to make it happen. That's the best way. That's why I make my own freeze-dried food too. I mean, I have Mountain House, I have Thrive, but I make a lot of my own as well.
So do you have one of them?
Shrimp the other day. I'm eating shrimp cocktail coming into the world.
Do you have one of them freeze harvest rights?
Yes, I do.
Is that how you do? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I know my friend, oh my gosh, he just got one, Engineer 779.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Hunt. He just got one.
Yeah.
He's been using the heck out of it. And I've been kind of envious. He's like, I'll bring you some. I'm like, okay. But
man, I have freeze-dried everything from eggs to shredded cheese to steaks to pork chops. Man, you name it. Beets, chili mac. I mean, like I said, shrimp, spinach. Everything. Everything you can imagine. If we have big leftovers, it goes in the freeze dryer.
Sweet.
I still have like 80 pounds of beef in my freezer that has to be cubed up and freeze dried. Because the meats are the most expensive thing to buy freeze dried. So I make my own chicken, my own beef, my own pork, and put it away.
That is awesome. Hey, well, Chris, if you don't mind, tell our listeners how they can get in touch with you, how they can find your books and buy your books.
Well, you can get me on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, all the Angry American. There's a YouTube channel as well that we're doing some work on now, and that'll be kicking back off here pretty quick. There's also a website, which I have an existing one, but we're remodeling it at the moment, and that'll be coming back up live. And on there, you'll be able to order signed books, T-shirts, hats, morale patches, all that kind of good stuff, as well as the really nice True Spec shirts that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
The books, can be the first 5 can still be found in bookstores, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But you can get all of them online at Amazon. Of course, everything's available on Amazon. That's one of the things that they focused on early on, because when Amazon first started, that's all it was an online book retailer.
Right. Yep.
And they really pushed that forward to now they're a publishing powerhouse. So that's the best way to get them. And if you get them, leave a review. Today's measure of success for an author is how many reviews do you have on Amazon. That's what matters. So
that's what matters. Yep.
It is. It's the measure of success.
Do you think you'll be blogging Alone this year? Will you be blogging or putting notes out there?
No, I won't be involved on that one. No.
You won't? Nope. Okay.
I did voiceover stuff for one of the other seasons, but I won't be involved in this one.
Okay. Well, actually, Chris, our time is up, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you do for our the preppers and survivalists in America, and you put your heart into it. You write some incredible books, and you're available for everyone to just come and speak to you at shows online, and that is awesome, and we really do appreciate it. And I'm hoping that people will run out and buy your books if they haven't, and start the series. And we look forward to book 10 being published. I'm on book like 6, so I'm far behind, but I'll make it up within the next couple of weeks. So
you're lucky, so you're not one of those waiting around for the next one to come out. So
no, I know, I hate that. It drives me nuts. Someone just released one not too long ago, and I'm like, no, I read Franklin Horton's Random Acts. It was someone else, and I'm like, it was Mark Goodwin, book 1, and I'm like, crap. Now I got to wait for the next one. Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Well, Chris, thanks for coming on, and we appreciate it. And you have a great day. Okay.
You too, brother. Thanks for having me. It was a good time. Nice talking to you as always, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, bye.
Bye. Hey, guys, that's Chris Weatherman, Angry American. Go get his books. His books are amazing. He's an unbelievable author. You learn so much by listening to these books. So check us out at preppingacademy.com, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the Prepping Academy podcast. Preppers Unite at www.preppingacademy.com.
Has your data been hacked? Do you feel uneasy about the vulnerability of your personal information online? Were you involved in the Target, LinkedIn, or Microsoft data leaks? Don't know? If not, then pay attention. Join Forrest Garvin from PrepperNet for a free webinar on privacy and security. Gain insights into safe internet browsing, VPNs, crafting online aliases, secure emails, detecting if your data has been hacked, and managing passwords. Secure your spot today for this webinar on privacy and security. It's free. This webinar delves into comprehensive strategies for bolstering your online privacy. We've got you covered, from fortifying your passwords to shielding your financial information and mastering state-of-the-art encryption techniques. We're offering 2 convenient dates to suit your schedule. Reserve your spot now at preppernet.com/privacy. Don't let cyber threats erode your peace of mind any longer. Take the first step toward a safer, more secure online experience by joining us for our free webinar. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to safeguarding your privacy. Sign up now at preppernet.com/privacy. We'll see you there.